In a dark, dank dungeon, a young woman hangs above the floor. A man of known renown stands on the other side of the bars. You are not easy to find or catch. Open your eyes already, Suggouchi Namanasa. Opening her eyes, she lifts her head up to look at the man. Stoneville, why? Please tell me why. Brick lined her cell. The slow dripping of water was something she could focus on. Cold chains kept her suspended off the ground. Her ankles and wrists are bound by these chains. The only light came from a flickering torch. She stared at the older guard, his hair starting to turn gray. She knew him, cared for him. He was like her father. She knew they had their fight, but it was nothing they couldn't work out. I have no say in this matter, Chi. His voice was deadpan. It seemed to drag on a bit. His eyes seemed to be devoid of life. The princess has accused you of killing the young prince. Stonevelt didn't look up at her hanging body. Even at your age, killing the prince will cost you your life. It was true. She had killed that 14-year-old child. Looking back on it, it seemed like a haze to her. She had been in hiding for a year. 18 today, right, Chi? He looks up at her finally. Dirt covered her once soft peach skin, not unlike the petals of a cherry blossom tree. Her hair, though mangy now, once shone like a warm summer's night. Happy birthday to me. She lets her hand hang, right? No words of comfort fell on her small ears. I regret living. The only thing I ever wanted was you. Don't say it! Stonevelt choked back on his words. She knew that he was crying on the inside. I was ready to live alone. You know my parents died during the fight on the Skydrop High Plains. After the Darkwinds took the battlefield, they slaughtered the village. Just beyond, I was stuffed into a secret pantry. My mother wanted me to live. They threw away my heart for 30 years. Suggouchi knew the story he was telling her. He told her it 3 years ago. She knew what was coming next. That is, until I found you abandoned in the forest under Dragonmouth Mountain. You were covered in blood, shivering in fear. I never knew a crying little child would change my life in such a way. Suggouchi let him talk. She owed him that much. Besides, that helped her. Listening to his story, it seemed to take her back to a happier time. I listened to you calling out for your mom and dad one night. I comfort that scared bloody child. Do you recall that day when you heard me calling out for my parents? As I slept, I was having a nightmare, yet you came to me. You were only 6, and yet you comforted me. I saw you as my daughter that day. Stonevelt stood still as he talked. He was a tall man. Even with her suspended in air, he could almost look her in the eyes. I've lost everything again. His shoulders fell. He knew he was going to lose Suggouchi before she could talk. A woman dressed in regal clothing rushed down the stairs. Give me back my son! The queen shook the cell bars, making them rattle. Please, I want my little child back. Behind her, a younger but none the less regal-looking child sets her clean shoes upon the damp floor. She can't. So the princess walks to her mother. The demon only takes. The princess glares at Suggouchi. I thought we were friends. Suggouchi felt the pain the queen was going through. Did you tell your dad what really happened? No. Suggouchi tries to move, shaking the chains a bit. I told you in secret. The princess turns to Stormveld. After her 17th birthday, she remembered her real father was a demon worshipper, a dark red. He was going to sacrifice her to a demon. The mother found out and tried to stop him. He stabbed his wife to death. What the demonist didn't know was that Suggouchi's heart, filled with anger and rage, allowed the demon to take her body and had her kill him. She killed her own father. Suggouchi's whole body went limp as the princess told Stormveld the story. Demon life is a part of who she is, a Darkren since that day. The princess looks back at Suggouchi. The whole kingdom knows what you are now. I told everyone. Stormveld stares at Suggouchi as she breaks down into tears. A Darkren. She was evil all along. Suggouchi looks up at Stormveld. I never lied to you. You will always be my father. She watches the man she would call father turn away and walk up the stone stairs. The princess and the queen followed him out. Suggouchi hung there, her arms and legs growing tired and strained. Her thoughts wandered back into her past. Stormveld holding her, protecting her no matter what. He was always there for her. Her life changed once she met the prince. When she tried to help the lonely boy, he wanted something she was not willing to give to him. He wanted her to live with him in the castle. Suggouchi wanted nothing more than to be with her father. But here she was, forever separated from him, the man that cared for her the most. Night covered the lands. Storm clouds rolled over the kingdom. Suggouchi hung there, listening to the rain pelt the stone. Every inch of her body felt numb, her heart was lifeless. She wanted to die. No light was left, hope was devoured by despair. She lifts her head, looking up at the dripping stone ceiling. Footsteps started coming from the stairways. Father? Suggouchi's voice was raspy and strained. Please kill me. I can't live without you. I tried, but I couldn't stand being away from you. You gave me everything when I had nothing. Stormveld unlocks the gate, and upon entering he draws his sword. Before I do, he lifts her face up more to look into her eyes. Did you kill him? Suggouchi never lied to him before, and he knew that she never will. The prince kept trying to pressure me into living in the castle with him. One day I was fed up with him. I pushed him and then ran. I looked back as I ran. His head hit the stone. I saw blood coming from the wound. I didn't stop. I didn't help him. I just ran. Stormveld drops her face. I will miss you, Chi. Stormveld moves the sword above his head. Suggouchi hangs her head. He brings down the sword. A thunderclap masks any scream Suggouchi would make. A few days have passed. Stormveld had her body cleaned up. He arranged for a coffin for her. Suggouchi laid in the box, looking like she was just resting her eyes. The princess walks in and heads to Stormveld. You wanted to see me? The princess looks up at the older and taller man. Stormveld didn't look away from his daughter's body. I'm residing with the prince and Suggouchi dead. I have no reason to fight. The princess knew how skilled and loyal he was. The army needed him. With the Darkren's constant warring, they needed him now more than ever. I need to tell you something, Stormveld. My brother asked me to help fake his death. Stormveld stayed still, listening to the princess. After Suggouchi denied him, he didn't want anyone else to have her. The princess sees him grinding his teeth. She knew Stormveld was the one to kill Suggouchi. After all the years I gave to the kingdom, this is my reward? The only thing I love taken because some brat lied about her. Stormveld draws his sword. All I wanted was a happy life for my daughter. He reaches down and pulls Suggouchi's body out of the coffin. The princess watches her arms wrap around Stormveld's neck. Suggouchi had a long scar from her collarbone to her stomach. What is this? The princess starts backing away. How? Doctors told us she was dead. Stormveld now turns to the princess. I gave her a drug to stop her heart. Was it just you and the prince behind this plot? Yes, my mother and father didn't know about it. Please don't kill me. Do you think Suggouchi wanted any of this? You don't care about her well-being. You knew she was innocent. You were still going to have her killed. Stormveld brings his sword down. The princess is on the floor, bleeding. You will live with that scar. I would leave the two of us alone if I were you. Stormveld knew of secret passageways. He knew where the prince would hide in case of emergencies. He didn't need to get the information from the princess. He takes Suggouchi with him. Stormveld pulls open a hidden panel inside of a hollow wooden wall. Stormveld, what are you doing here? The prince watches the soldier enter the hidden hallway. His heart drops as Suggouchi walks into the hidden chamber. I had you executed! How are you still alive? Stormveld is now just a few short feet away from the prince. Stop! I'll call the guards! In a flash, and in one smooth motion, Stormveld had removed the head from the prince's body. Suggouchi draws back at the sudden burst of speed and violence. She never really thought he would go so far as to kill the prince. Now you can't worry about not having her. Suggouchi slowly steps out of the chamber. She watches Stormveld exit the secret hallway and replace the wooden door. He turns to his daughter and takes her out of the castle and the kingdom. 25 years later, Suggouchi stands over a grave at the base of a cherry blossom tree. I miss you, Father. She places flowers on the grave. Thank you for giving me a life and a reason to live. I wanted you to know I'm expecting my third child. Nami and Ryu are both very happy. Vance is working hard to support the soon-to-be 4 of us. I love you, Dad. Living in Darkren country has not been too bad after your passing. The current queen still has that scar you gave her. She has always feared your return, ever since you killed her brother. The Empire soldiers found us a few times, but left us well enough alone. I guess they were given direct orders to leave us alone. Well, I just wanted you to know that I still miss you, that I think of you often. There is not much else to say. Goodbye, Pat. She turns and heads back to her family, waiting a few yards away from the tree. Under the cherry blossom tree lies a gravestone with the engraving, "Here rests Storveld, a loving father and a great war hero."